Good morning. Welcome to the garden. I have coffee in this mug. My mom got this mug at an auction this week and I absolutely love it. It was made by somebody in 2002, which is pretty freaking cool. So I immediately took it and I've been using it the last couple days and I love it. So yeah, good morning. It is actually not bad out this morning. It's been really hot and humid and I haven't wanted to be out here at all, but today it's actually pretty nice. The birds are chirping. The sun is just starting to peek over the house. You can see it back here on the garage. And I'm out here in the garden and there's lots of color going on out here, which makes me super happy. And that kind of leads me into what I wanted to talk about today, because sometimes when I shoot these morning garden walk videos, I just kind of come out here and ramble and hope that something decent comes out. And sometimes I have like a thing I need to do. Like the last one, I think I needed to pick beans. That was the thing I needed to do, so that's what I did. Today, though, I wanted to talk about trying things. So it is currently the end of July, and if you are a gardener, maybe this is your first year really gardening. Maybe you've grown a few herbs before but never really anything else. Maybe this year you were like, you know what, I'm home, I'm gonna grow a garden. And you had all the gumption and drive in April to get your garden going, and now it is a mess. It's okay. I have been there multiple times, multiple years I have been there. When you look at this garden that I have now and you see that it looks honestly pretty good, not to toot my own horn, but it looks pretty good. I gardened in this space, well not this space, it was much smaller than this, but I gardened out here for probably about 4 years in 2 4x6 garden beds, and they were always full of weeds, always, like all the time. I never really knew how far apart to put anything, so I just stuck plants that I bought at the store in the ground and hope for the best. And then those beds fell apart, and I had 1 year where I just had 2 rows of stuff in the yard, in the ground, and it was, I don't know, I had like 3 Roma tomato plants and that was it. Why would I just grow Romas? I don't know. And then I was mad because they were the little Roma size and not big slicers. I don't know. It was a whole thing. And then I decided to really like start doing research and teach myself stuff. So all that to say, if you were one of those people that during this whole stay-at-home situation we've been in said, I'm gonna garden, I'm really proud of you. I think that's awesome. I'm so proud of you for wanting to garden and wanting to grow your own food. I think it's awesome. And even if you only got like a couple tomatoes, maybe a handful of beans here and there, that's awesome. I'm so proud of you. I want you to not be afraid to try again. If something that you grow 1 year doesn't necessarily work out, don't be afraid to try it again the next year. There's always another growing season in the garden. Last year, I really struggled with green beans. I don't know why, but they just didn't want to make beans. I don't know. I had a few bush bean plants. They all died. I had what I thought were pole beans that did not end up being pole beans, which was very annoying. Again, they didn't really produce anything. So here I am, stuck with all this trellis space with these beans that were supposed to climb, and they didn't climb because they weren't pole beans. The package was wrong. But I was like, you know what? I got probably 125 cucumbers last year off of 2 plants. So in my book, I may have lost the bean war, but I won the cucumber fight. I got to put up so many jars of pickles for the winter and for the spring, and it was awesome. So This year, it's kind of the opposite. I have been doing really well with my beans so far. The cucumbers are just now starting to produce. I just have a couple little baby cucumbers coming in. So it's every year is absolutely completely different. Even if you live in the same, I've lived in the same house for 6 years, and every year gardening is different. It just is. That's just how it works. So I don't want you to get discouraged. We're kind of at this time of the year where it's really hot, and you may be right in the thick of it in terms of the gardening season. There's tons of stuff that needs harvested, there's weeds that need pulled, and there's plants that need trimmed, and there's stuff that needs pulled up and replanted, and you just don't want to do it because it's so hot. And I 100% get that, because I feel the exact same way. It is so hot and so humid, and I don't want to be out here. I don't want to wait until it's almost dark to come out here to not have heat stroke, you know? But before we know it, it's gonna be cold, and we're gonna wish we were back in the days that we are in right now in the gardening season. So keep that in mind. Also want to talk about trying new things in terms of new varieties, new plants, new, you know, things to try, like new food to grow in general. This year I'm growing a rainbow of tomatoes, and I am so excited. Each color of tomato has kind of a different flavor. Each variety of each color of tomato has a slightly different flavor. But if you eat a red tomato and you eat a yellow tomato, they're gonna taste completely different. But they're both tomatoes. And a lot of people have this burned into their brain that tomatoes are red. And I'm here to tell you that they come in a rainbow of colors. So I have some examples down here. This is just 3 tomatoes that I grew, and none of them are red. So this is a ghost cherry. It, if you can see, is kind of white. It's kind of yellow, it's like a light yellow. So this fruit right here, this is technically a cherry tomato, but it's massive. This is absolutely delicious. I love these. They are not red. They're called ghost cherries. They're supposed to be white. They're a little bit yellow. They're almost a little bit see-through. I love them. This is not a red tomato, but it's delicious. This is a Thorburns terracotta. This one's a little bit underripe. The bottom is really what it's supposed to look like. This is like a terracotta brown color tomato. The inside of this is absolutely gorgeous. It's orange and red on the inside. When they're fully ripe, this one's a little green on the top. But this is pretty much a brown tomato. These are beautiful, and they taste really good. When I tried the first one of these, I didn't know if I liked it, but I do. I let one ripen fully on the counter, and they are really good. They have a more earthy flavor, and they're a little more pungent than a yellow tomato would be. And this beautiful cracked masterpiece is a yellow tomato. This is called pineapple, and it has red streaking on the bottom. But this is a yellow tomato. It's ugly. It's cracked really bad, but it is beautiful, and these are absolutely delicious. So I want you to remember, when you're buying seeds and when you're buying plants, there are other colors of tomatoes that are absolutely delicious that you would not maybe normally try. I don't want you to be afraid to try new things. If you grow something and you hate it, like let's say you grow this yellow tomato and you're like, that's the worst tomato I've ever had in my life. Find someone who likes them and share the wealth. I think that that's part of gardening, is being able to share things with people. That's why I grow all these plants. There's only 2 of us in my house. 2 people can't possibly go through all these tomatoes and all these beans, but I grow them so I can share. I also had a carbon tomato. I ate that a couple days ago that I picked. I think it was either early this week or last week. It had a crack in it, so I picked it. It ripened in the house perfectly fine. It's a dark purple tomato. It's a purple tomato with dark purple shoulders, and that tomato was so good. It has almost like a smoky taste to it that you just don't get with red tomatoes. And there's nothing wrong with a red tomato. A red tomato has that, most of them have that classic tomato flavor. Some of them, like a San Marzano or like an Amish paste, have more of a paste tomato flavor. It's like a punch in the mouth taste of tomato, which is what you want when you're making sauce and stuff like that. But there are so many other varieties out there to try that I can't grow just red tomatoes. The only red tomatoes I have out here this year are the Costoluto Genovese, Amish paste, triple crop, and the San Marzano. And I think the Sweet Scarlet Dwarfs may be red. But other than that, I have white tomatoes, I have yellow, I have the terracotta brown ones, I have purple ones, I have ones that are supposed to be almost black. I have pink ones. The Chianti Rose is like a pink color, and the pink Oxheart is as well. I just love growing all sorts of varieties of tomatoes. I have green tomatoes that ripen to a dark green with some red streaks, the Aunt Ruby's German Green. And I just want you to be confident in what you're growing, to try new things, because what's the worst that happens? You don't like it? Okay, I eat stuff I don't like every once in a while, and then I'm like, okay, I don't like that. No big deal. You see these cool colored jalapenos. Like, I have some lemon spice jalapenos to grow next year that turn yellow. And you're like, jalapenos aren't yellow. But actually, jalapenos do turn red when they're fully ripe and when they have all of their heat. So your green jalapenos, if you leave them on the plant long enough, will turn red. We are used to jalapenos that are green that we buy in the grocery store, but there's so many different varieties of jalapenos and peppers in general that you just don't know. It may be delicious, you may love it. It may be your favorite jalapeno waiting for you to grow it, and you won't know if you don't try. That is my soapbox for the day. I would just like for you to not be afraid to try new things, and I would also like you to not get discouraged by trying new things. If you try a new variety of plant and it just straight up does not work in your garden, try it again next year, and if it doesn't work again, then maybe say, okay, maybe this plant is not right for me. It happens, you know? It just happens. If you try a tomato variety and you don't like it, don't grow it again. I am not gonna be growing the large red cherry again next year because I just don't like the tomatoes off of it. I prefer the ghost cherry and the blonde girl cherry that I've grown this year. So gardening is always a learning process. I feel like it's always worth the reward. Even if you get no produce at all, you still learned something. At least one thing. You learned at least one thing, and that is beautiful. So I'm gonna go inside and enjoy my coffee in this beautiful mug. I hope everyone has a great day. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.